like the right Twix, the food theory people. It's the right Twix versus left Twix. Like never eat the right Twix. I mean, like if we're being completely honest, like you gotta really be. How dedicated are you to eat only one side of the Twix? Like it really does not matter, bro. It's never that serious. Like which one of y'all actually only eat one side of the Twix? Like if you really go into the store, right, and walk up to wherever they have the candy at, and you have to walk past the left or right to get to the other one, and you buy that one. I know you chunky. Like I know you.
History is full of iconic rivalries. In the sports world, there's stuff like Red Sox versus Yankees, UNC versus Duke, Ohio State versus Michigan. In pop culture, there's
It's not that serious, man.
Jacob, BTS versus Blackpink, Team Captain America versus Team Iron Man, Left Shark versus Right Shark. Even in the food world, there's rivalries with Coke versus Pepsi and Taco Bell versus your bowels. But of all these bitter rivalries,
I haven't had Taco Bell in so long, yo.
The bunch. Left Twix versus Right Twix.
Oh yeah, that shit's so bad.
Vastly different approach. Left Twix flowed caramel on cookie, while right Twix cascaded caramel on cookie. Try both and pick a side.
For the past decade,
That shit don't matter.
is centered around the different
There's no difference
between the left half of the Twix bars and the right half, all while asking us to pick a side. Well, today we're gonna do exactly that. I'm gonna prove using data and science which side is indisputably the correct side of the Twix bar.
You all for saying correct, man. There is no. I'm about to destroy this camera in a second, and then my life is gonna be over.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Food Theory, the show that chooses violence and eats both Twix at the same time. Does that average out to make me middle Twix? So at this point, you get the basic conceit of the
I put too much tea mix in this shit.
Candy bars available on the market. Strip of cookie, caramel on top, covered in chocolate. There are 2 Twix bars in every package of Twix. They should be identical to each other. They probably are identical to each other. And
They are, bro.
Campaigns for the past decade have made a big deal about choosing sides. Are you a left Twix person or...
Remember to take your perks every night
I
too.
technically don't really keep friends from right Twix. There's something really off about those guys.
They've even gone so far as to create a lengthy backstory behind the rivalry.
Years ago, when the Ranger Famous and Earl invented the Twix bar, the tension between them reached a breaking point. Literally, to this day, carrying nothing but a wrapper. And, design.
They look like some racist ass niggas, bro, to be honest with you.
Now, obviously, this is all a joke, right? Big ol' sarcastic, trust us, the left and right sides are totally different, wink wink. I mean, obviously, this thing isn't serious. If it was, they'd bother to keep their facts straight. Originally, right Twix was cascaded with caramel, see?
Left Twix flowed
Cascaded.
caramel on cookie, while right Twix cascaded caramel on cookie.
But later in the campaign, it actually switches.
You guys ever tried one of these bars made over at Right Twix?
Why? Our special cookie is cascaded with caramel and cloaked in chocolate.
No!
Cloaked
No,
in
sir!
chocolate.
No! Left Twix flows caramel and
Flows the
bathes
caramel.
chocolate. Keep your
Bathes.
story straight, Twix. It's almost like no one cares about the consistency of their own lore. Unless, of course, he's secretly an undercover agent from Right Twix posing as a Left Twix employee. No, that's not a real thing. I just care about this way more than they did. But what if the whole left Twix versus right Twix thing isn't tongue-in-cheek? What if this whole thing isn't cloaked in sarcasm and bathed in marketing hype? When you're choosing a Twix, which team should you choose to be on? Between left and right Twix, which one is the better Twix? I guarantee that by the end of the episode, you will have an answer. And there's only one way to find it out: buying an egregious amount of candy bars and then aggressively performing science on them. So before we go any further, we need to establish our terms, because let me tell ya, things are gonna get confusing in a hurry. For the purposes of today, when I say a Twix bar, I'm talking about an individual stick of cookie dabbled with caramel and snuggled in chocolate. There are 2 Twix bars.
Whoever came up with Twix though was a pretty, like, they genius, bro. Twix is mad good, and Kit Kats.
Right when the packaging has the bars
Like, yo, like I remember like a few years ago.
More of a top versus bottom kind of thing. Well,
I remember like a few years ago, like I had a big ass bag for Halloween. I fucked those Twix up, like big time. Like bro, it was like the mini ones and like the little wrapper ones.
Got all that? Great. Now throw it out the window. You see,
In my
here's
mouth.
the way things should
No
be.
pause. Resume.
Didn't But life always has a way of making these episodes more complicated than they should be. Knowing that I wanted an adequate sample size, we bought 208 Twix bars. And then we opened the box.
I mean, 208 is kind of...
Bread passed over me as I realized that the wrappers
208.
are now labeled as containing 2 left Twix or containing 2 right Twix. Because life is pain. You see the problem here, right? This adds yet another layer of confusion to the question. Not only do we now have to figure out if there's a difference between the left and right bars inside of an individual packet, but now we also have to factor in whether the Twix packaged as right Twixes and the ones labeled as left Twixes actually differ in any meaningful way. So with that in mind, I had to label all of my Twix as left to left, left to right, right left, or right right, taking into account both the name on the packaging as well as the side of the packet they're on. And just as a friendly reminder, this was meant to be a dumb episode, a fun one just for the lols, but instead it's becoming more complicated than trying to solve for Mario's height. You know how sometimes on this channel I get mid-video regret syndrome about the episode topics I've selected? Yep, this is that point. A series of frustrated head desks later, it was data time. I needed to find the cold, hard differences between left Twix and right Twix so that I could, as the advertising suggested, choose a side. As such, I devised a few tests. First and easiest was a simple weight test. Pop them on the scale and see what it spits out. Second was a crunchiness test. Maybe something with the packaging renders one of the bars a bit more stale than the other. And finally, a taste test. Give random strangers a blind taste test of a bunch of Twix bars to see what trends pop up in the data. And then maybe I'd be able to draw some conclusions about the optimal Twix experience. First, weight. Twix bars average between 24.5 and 25.5 grams, and any deviation from that was very rare. Out of the 208 bars that we weighed, only 10 fell outside of the range, which, hey, kudos to Mars Incorporated. Quality control game is on point. The biggest outlier was a monstrous 27-gram thick boy with pretty much all the extra weight coming from a larger volume of caramel. So, was this a right bar or a left bar? It was a left Twix coming out of a package labeled 2 right Twix. Of the other overweight bars, 5 of them came out of left Twix packages, 2 specifically being left bars. Among the Twix that were underweight, both of them came from right Twix packages, but one was from the left side and one was from the right side. When you do the math,
See,
it
this
works
is
out like
like...
the average weight of Twix on the right side of the package, 25.03 grams. The Twix on the left side of the package, 25.04 grams. Basically no difference. But maybe instead of looking at where in the packet the Twix came from, we should just trust what the label tells us. Twix that came from packets labeled left Twix averaged out at 25.05 grams, while Twix coming out of 2 right Twix packages averaged out to 25.02 grams. That is a 0.03 gram per bar difference for left Twix, 0.06 grams in a packet, so a slight edge for left Twix, but still, it's practically a rounding error. Go figure, it's almost like they're meant to be identical. So the next thing I wanted to try was crunchiness, which to me served as an indicator of freshness. I've used a decibel meter for a couple episodes now. We used it for trying to create the crunchiest chip episode here on Food Theory, and Film Theory used it to test out the survival techniques of A Quiet Place. So yeah, we got it. Why not eat some Twix in front of it? I took 3 bites of 16 bars, with 4 from each category being represented. I expected literally nothing to come out of this, but the differences that I found actually wound up being shocking. Bars in packages marked right Twix wound up being slightly louder than their counterparts in the left Twix sleeves, but only by a little bit, a 1.4 decibel difference, nothing major. However, there was a noticeable difference between the left and right Twix in the same package. Bars on the left of the packet averaged 72.3 decibels, which was noticeably louder than the 69.6 decibels coming from bars on the right. It was nearly a 3 decibel swing. Wait a minute, we found a difference. We found a significant difference. This episode wasn't a waste of time. While human error is certainly an X factor that could explain these 3 decibels, I did my best to try and keep the bites consistent and sample enough to try and make it fair. No, I suspect that the 3 decibel difference might actually have to do with the packaging or storage of the Twix. In fact, my hypothesis, my food hypothesis, is that it all relates less to the left versus right difference and more to the top versus bottom placement that I talked about earlier. When on store shelves or slotted into a shipping box, one Twix is always going to be sitting on top of another. Because of the way the package is printed, the one on top becomes becomes the left Twix in our experiment today, which wound up
I
being
like-
the noisier of the two groups. So
I like
the
candy
other
more
half
than
is
all.
potentially doing something to keep the bar fresher and crunchier. Maybe it's exposed
Whoa,
to
I
less
like-
light
I
or
like
maybe less
chocolate
air.
more than candy,
Maybe
but, like-
residual moisture is being caught in the bottom of the package while
Chocolate is different than candy, though. We have to like make that clear.
But
Like,
for a crisper
like,
snap,
hold on, Matt. Candy is different from chocolate. Chocolate is a whole separate thing. Candy is like, we talking like gummies, we talking like hard candy, we talking fruity shit, we talking all that. But chocolate is like for me, like they're different. But like from like chocolate can go into like cake, chocolate ice cream, chocolate whatever, like chocolate whatever. Anything that's not chocolate and like not in that type of like range is all candy. You know, so like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying, bro. Like, they're different. Chocolate isn't really candy unless you like, what are them nasty shits called? What are they called? They have like their name is kind of paused too. Chocolate, like, I gotta look it up. Hold on. It's the chocolate. I gotta look it up. It's the chocolate. Why all of a sudden it just never comes up? Nah, the Cadbury's though. I think I said this in the video too. Any like the Cadbury, like the caramel ones are cool too, but like the regular chocolate version of these go crazy. Like those are the best chocolate bars ever. But what are they called? Like they mad nasty and like they would always be everywhere too. Like like at school, at like for Halloween, Tootsie Rolls, yeah. Them nasty ass shits. Those are nasty. Those aren't even. It's bad.
Left Twix seems to be the quantitative winner. Finally came the real test, the taste test. Asking a number
Whose
of
tongue is
friends,
that?
associates, and random strangers to eat candy while I stared at them and take notes. I made sure to unwrap the Twix before serving it to them to not bias anyone with a left Twix or right Twix wrapper. Instead, I thought it was a better idea to walk around carrying Ziploc baggies full of unwrapped candy bars marked with strange symbols. Also, I was driving around in a windowless white van. On an unrelated note, I'm now on a couple of government watch lists. For science! And what did my Class A...
I wouldn't be surprised if he actually was on a watch list, though, to be honest with you.
There was no surprise. And by that I mean there was no clear preference between left or right Twix, no matter how you were defining left or right Twix. No trend, no difference, except there was one key data point that stood out like a sore thumb. People's preference had nothing to do with left versus right, but it had everything to do with which bar they selected first. In a whopping 85% of our tests, the subject reported that the Twix bar they ate first tasted better than the second, which comes with a shocking takeaway for Twix. You guys don't need two bars. Forget left versus right Twix. You're trying too hard. Just give people one. The first is apparently more than enough. Honestly, it's
I feel like a
ironic
dickhead, like,
considering Twix's
drinking
whole
out of a
marketing slogan,
bottle
one that I
like this.
grew up with. Yep, encouraging the kids of my generation to be outright terrible to each other so that they can have more candy. Except, as our data just showed, we actually don't want more candy. The second bar is always going to taste far inferior to the
Like, you remember, like, when you in class and, like, you taking the test and all that, and then that one person with the big-ass metal hydro flask, like, would kick it over under the desk like this? That wasn't good enough. Like, it'd be like this. But, like, way louder than that.
Our data on this test.
And then everybody turn around and look at him like a dumbass.
Something called sensory specific satiety, or triple S, if you want to make it sound like a cheap Vin Diesel ripoff. It's the scientific term for the human experience of enjoying food less the more of it we eat. Part of this is diminishing returns as we get less enjoyment from the things that we get. But sensory specific satiety actually goes way beyond that. An Oxford study found that your desire for the specific types of food...
If y'all could hear me drinking, I'm sorry, but...
faster than for other types of uneaten food.
Shut up.
Neural pathways in a monkey's brain showed that as it ate, certain neural pathways to the monkey's hypothalamus, that's the part of the brain that controls your appetite, became less responsive when the monkey saw food that it had recently eaten. But it would become more responsive when it saw new, uneaten food. Bringing things all the way back around to our original question, which is better, left Twix or right Twix? Well, if you're looking to maximize your enjoyment, choose left Twix first. Not only was it shown to be the slightly fresher bar, but choosing it first means that you're getting the best bites when you're most eager to be eating the candy. But again, shocking literally no one, the difference here is mostly in the marketing. These two things are made to be identical, which leaves us asking the big question of why? Why go to the effort of taking two identical food products and giving them two separate labels?
Because marketing, no.
Against itself.
That's a big
How
thing.
does this work?
Like, marketing really is crazy. Like,
so much of advertising,
if you ever like studied like marketing and stuff like that, like different ways of marketing,
to get into your brain. There's
psychology,
a phenomenon called choice supportive bias, or post-purchase rationalization, which is the tendency of people to come up with justifications to support the choices that they're making in their life. Whenever people are forced to decide between two or more
like
different
marketing is real strong,
they're
yo.
more likely to ascribe positive attributes and associate positive feelings with the product that they just bought. It's basically the opposite of buyer's remorse. We want to convince ourselves that we made the right choice. Our money wasn't wasted. In fact, this happens all the time, even when the choice is a complete illusion and we're choosing between two identical products. It's one of the big reasons.
Like, if a Nike Tech didn't have Nike written on it, you wouldn't buy that shit. But since it has that little, even though the logo is mad nice, like the Nike shit, like right there, really makes the biggest difference on the planet.
Whenever you bite into that Twix bar, whether it was a right or a left Twix, what you're experiencing while chewing is the result of a decision that you just made, which motivates your brain to come up with justifications for why this Twix bar is actually delicious, and why you're so smart for having made the decision that you just did. Speaking of smart decisions, by the way, on screen you're about to see two other...
That's another thing too, bro. Hold on. This, like, if you eat Oreos, like double stuff or like triple stuff or mega stuff Oreo, whatever it is, you need to check yourself into a hospital, because like something like whoever really like like if you really like get Oreos that thick, I want to like grab you by the nostril and like throw you out of my sight, because like this shit's so nasty. Like, look, there's mad cream in your mouth when you bite into one of them things, and when you dip it in milk, like, you literally can't taste nothing but cream. It's nasty. Like, nah.
You need to debunk another classic candy bar marketing slogan. Check out this video breaking down the science of why, if you're hungry, you should not grab a Snickers. And if you want to find out about an even bigger...
That's another thing too. If you hungry, like, who in their right mind, when you feel hungry, you go for, why am I black as shit? If you hungry and you reach for a candy bar, like a Snickers, that thick ass Snickers, you crazy. You're out of your mind, because what, like, you... Like, I know, like, if you really reach for a Snickers when you get hungry, like actual, like an appetite, and you reach for a Snickers candy bar, I know your belt cries every single time you put pants on, because you just don't have any self-control. Like, you just gotta, like, take a deep breath and just find some regular food. Just eat some regular food or just drink some water. And we're gonna end the video off like that, because, like, some of y'all need to be taught a lesson, so...